Alright, in this video we are going to look at some of the basic features of Illustrator, how to open the program, and kind of just how to handle some of the different aspects and make new documents and those sort of things. So first thing we got to do is open Illustrator. A couple ways you can do this. If it's in your doc, great, you already got it there. If not, you're going to need to find the program. Well, to find a program we have a couple choices. One thing we can do is we can use this Launchpad thing. This, when you click it, will kind of look like your cell phone where you'll see the icons. If it's not on the first page, you can swipe from side to side just like you would on an iPhone or any other phone really too, and you'll find Illustrator in there. You can also search at the top for the program that you're looking for. Another completely different way of doing this, I can use the search in the top right hand corner and I could search for Illustrator and it's going to come up. Now I already have mine, so I'm going to just go ahead and click on it. Again, you could go either of those methods to get this program open. First thing I would do then once you get it open is go ahead, right click on it, do Options, Keep in Dock. Now it happened really quick on mine, so I don't know if you even caught it, but I'm going to go ahead and quit this program. I can ignore, I just get this weird error on my computer. As I click on this, you're going to notice it bounces a little bit. That one barely bounced at all. But if the programs are ever bouncing up and down, what that tells you is the computer's currently doing something with it. It's trying to open it, it's trying to do something to that. So if you see it bouncing, you don't have to try to keep clicking on it or anything. It'll open, it just needs a second to do whatever it's trying to do. Next thing you want to look at is, as you work, are you really in Illustrator? What I mean by that is, next to the apple does it say Illustrator? If you're looking for like a window or menu that I'm using and you can't figure out that menu option at the top, chances are you maybe clicked on the background. Again, those menus at the top change when I do that. So now these options have nothing to do with Adobe Illustrator. That will get confusing when you have an Illustrator document. So let's say I just made a document or something. I have this thing sitting here and I click on the background. Even though most of my screen is taken up by Illustrator, this menu has nothing to do with Illustrator. It's almost like I'm not in the program right now, and that's something you have to get used to if you're not used to a Mac. To get back into the program, all I have to do is just click on my document, and now it says Illustrator up here. Now all these menus are related to Adobe Illustrator. So that's kind of how that works. As far as toolbars go, if I go to Window, you're going to see there's a bunch of different windows that can be opened, these little tiny windows. Sometimes you need a bunch of these, sometimes you don't. You'll need different ones throughout the year. There's probably different ones open on your computer right now than are open on mine. If you don't need them, you can hit the little X to close them right here. You can drag them separate from each other if they're grouped together. You can group them together by dragging them just like I'm doing. And if you notice, where I'm dragging is the name of that thing. I could lock this one underneath this one, and now I can drag. That didn't work. Sometimes you can get them to lock together where they'll drag together. Obviously, in this case, that didn't work, but you can kind of see how they want to like nest up against each other and kind of work together. And then again, when you don't need them, you can just close them out. So if you ever see me doing something in these next videos where you are going to need a certain window and you don't see that, you just simply go to Window. They are in alphabetical order down here, but the most important ones are up top. Tools being probably the most important one. That was that one that I had over on the left side here. So if I go to Window, Tools to turn that back on, there it is there. And one other hint, if you have a bunch of these things open and you can't find one, even if it already has a check next to it, it means it's open somewhere and you're not seeing it, but you could always click on it again to close it and then just reopen it and you'll see wherever the thing is. It'll kind of jump to the front so that you can find that window. So those things you're going to use a ton. You'll need to be able to open and close those things just to give yourself space to work. Alright, other than that, let me just show you how to make a new document and just kind of what the documents look like. So I'm going to go to File, New. And the biggest thing you'll need to set up in Illustrator is going to be the size of your document. In Photoshop it gets a little more complicated. Illustrator, all we have to really set up is the size. First thing I always look at is units. If I'm making something and it's for print or I'm just trying to make it like a specific size in inches or centimeters, I set that first because points is a totally different thing. Pixels is a different thing. So make sure if you're trying to go for inches, if I make something 8 pixels by 11 pixels, that is absolutely tiny. 8 inches or 8.5 inches by 11 inches is the size of a sheet of computer paper. So I'm going to go ahead, and the only other thing I may want to do is name this file. That's a good idea to do right off the bat, because if I decide to save this, then I already have the name typed in there. You never want to call something untitled because you'll end up with more than one of these untitled names, and you'll either overwrite old files or you'll never be able to figure out what's what. So I'm going to call this scratch paper. Now again, normally I probably wouldn't save this. I probably wouldn't name it then either, but for now I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I hit OK. It says scratch paper at the top. It tells me that I'm zoomed in at 100%. This right here, this rectangle you see on my screen, that's my paper. This area outside of here that's gray, that's sort of like the table. So if I were to do something as simple as that, and let me just give this a color so it's a little easier for you to understand what I'm saying. I have a rectangle. If I were to print this out, only up to here would print. The stuff that falls off the paper would not show up. So again, to make this make a little more sense, if I do like a circle and I were to print this thing out, I'm only going to get like a half a circle on my sheet of paper. In fact, if I go to print, I can show you what that looks like. So that's what would actually come out of the printer. So it gives you an idea. This is our piece of paper that we're working on. All of this is like our table. So if I zoom out a little bit so you can see what this looks like, you see our table's pretty big. We have plenty of space to work. The reason you'll do that is sometimes you might make something and just have it sit on the side and then drag it onto your paper as you need. So that's basically how you would make a document and just some of the basic functions of Illustrator, getting to these different windows and things that you might need. And you notice some more popping up for me as I'm working here. And again, if I didn't want those, I could kind of close those out in some different ways. I could hit the little X here. Alright, well, thank you for watching.